guys. I am already a little bit aggravated and a little short on patience this morning. I've been working on an irrigation pump. I worked on it for a solid 2 hours, and about 30 to 45 minutes of that was trying to get it to prime. Still hadn't got it primed. So, since I'm already aggravated, I thought it'd be a good time to jump on this poly planter, which I couldn't get to plant properly the last time I used it. If you remember, if you saw my video about, I think it was Plant Everything Part 2, where I was using this poly planter, and it was dropping about 30 to 50% of the seeds on top of the plastic instead of putting them in the holes. I called the man that builds these things and talked to him for a little bit yesterday, and he told me some things that I need to check. So I'm going to check and make some adjustments and try to get this thing timed, because I got about 4 acres of hard squash that I need to plant on plastic over here. So one thing that he mentioned to me that could be an issue is the timing of the spikes opening, and I think that may be it. The spikes are supposed to open when they're perfectly vertical, and you can see when the spike starts to open, it's a little bit past vertical, so it's potentially already starting to raise up out of the plastic. And that would make sense, because it seems like the seed were coming out after the spike had already started to raise up out of the hole in the plastic. So I'm gonna loosen these 2 bolts and adjust this cam slightly forward, and hopefully that is it. Let's see if I got this thing dialed in. Tay-bale. For us, that is pretty much the only acorn squash to grow. It is beautiful and black. Well, I guess technically it's dark green, but it's so dark green that it's almost black. Beautiful squash. Great yielder. Usually it'll yield more than we can get picked. So it's pretty hard to beat as far as varieties. Alright, let's try this again. Got rained out the other day. So what I did was I opened these holes up. This thing was not holding on to the squash seed very good, and it was dropping about half of them before it got around, before they got the opportunity to go in the wheel. So opened these holes up, about doubled their size actually, after doing some reading online on it, and I think I'm on to something. So I'm gonna load the seed plate. Alright, so right now I'm trying to get my depth adjusted just right, and I was talking to a buddy of mine who is an expert on these things, been running them for years, last night, and he told me that you want to be putting them in the ground like that, where the lever for the opening the spike is just about touching the plastic. And he said that was probably part of my problem, is I wasn't putting them spikes in deep enough. He said if you ain't putting them in deep enough, it's going to throw the seed out, and that's what I've been having happen. So I'm gonna do some digging here. I'm getting it pretty dang deep. Right there. That press wheel hadn't run over it yet. Dang, that seems like it's too deep to me. but he swears that's the way you got to run them, and I'll get good germination. I mean, it's that dang deep. But I guess looking here, it doesn't actually fill the hole in all that deep. So I'm thinking maybe that's okay. That's how I'm gonna justify it in my mind, because it just goes against everything I've ever thought about growing vegetables. Since I have adjusted the depth like that, I am not getting the seeds on top of the plastic like I was. If you go back to the video where I was planting all of our stuff for the store and for the farmers market last time, you recall that I had seeds laying all the way up the road, every row, and I was getting kind of frustrated with it. Couldn't get it worked out. And here you see I have no seeds on the plastic. That is awesome. I'm gonna go back to the tractor and get a screwdriver and do some digging here, and I hope that I'm gonna find a seed in the bottom of every hole, a seed or two in the bottom of every hole. There we go. Man, you can see that the beds were dry as a bone. It was so dry when we laid this plastic. And I've had the water running for 2 nights now, and we're getting some moisture in the beds, but it's not where it needs to be yet. Oh, there we go. Variety we got here is new to us. It's a Hubbard squash. It's called Red Curry. It's real dark orange reddish squash that's shaped kind of like a raindrop, I guess. I'm not real sure what these seeds are going to be sized like. I'm hoping they're sized more like a butternut, because those butternuts sure seem to singulate better. I should have said, I sure do wish they were sized like a jack-o'-lantern, like as big as possible. Maybe they would have been smaller. But since I said I hope they're the size of butternut seed, they are some monsters. if you're growing hard squash or pumpkins, my studied recommendation would be don't plant them unless you get them treated with Farmore 400. That Farmore is, I don't know what it adds to the cost of the seed, but it's virtually nothing, and it gives you 2 to 3 weeks of insect protection. Okay, yeah, it's a pretty stacked seed treatment. It's got Cruiser insecticide, Apron, Maxim, and Dynasty fungicides, and man, it really gets them off to a good, healthy start. All right, well, that's a wrap for the hard squash on plastic. I appreciate y'all watching, and hit that like button if you did like it, and subscribe if you hadn't already. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.